All right, ladies and gents, I wanted to take an opportunity to go over your Check for Understanding quiz over modeling decimals and powers of 10. So our first four questions had to do with modeling decimals and a reminder that each of these little squares represents 1/100th. If I'm looking at the total amount of squares here, there is 100. This extra little piece here has zoomed in on one of those squares, and if I were to break one of those squares up into 10 pieces, this now represents my thousandths, because 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000. So in this case, if I look at my first number, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 full rows of blue squares filled in. So that would be 40 hundredths or 4/10. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 filled in. So I have 46 hundredths. And then when I look at the breakdown of one of my squares into thousandths, there are 7 out of the 10 filled in. So I have 467 thousandths. For this next one, number 2, when I look at, I don't have one full row, which means I don't have one full tenth. So there shouldn't be anything in my tenths place value, but I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hundredths. And then when I look at the breakdown of one of the hundredths, I have 1, 2, 3 out of the 10 filled in, and so this would represent 3 thousandths. On our number lines, we are looking at a span of 1/10. So we've got from 2/10 to 3/10. So each of my thick lines is representing 1/100. So my red line here would be 1, 2, 3, and these little lines represent my thousandths. So the decimal that is being modeled is 263 thousandths. For question 4, we were modeling from 0 to 1/10. So we broke it down into hundredths, 0.01 all the way to 0.09. Well, I didn't quite get to 9 hundredths. I got to 8 hundredths, and then I have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I counted off. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So then this would be 88 hundredths. If you did happen to answer with 87 hundredths or 89 hundredths, I did count those as correct because this was difficult to see. So here's with our powers of 10. So things I need to pay attention to, we are looking at 10 to the third boxes, and each box represents 45 and 9/10 grams. So I need to take 45 and 9/10 grams and multiply it by 10 to the third power. Something that we have to remember is that my power of 3 is bossing around my 10, and it's telling me that I need to multiply itself 3 times. So this is the same as 45 and 9/10 times 1,000. Well, when we're multiplying by a power of 10, my digits 45.9 do not change. The only thing that changes with the powers of 10 is the decimal place. That is the only thing that's going to change. So because I'm multiplying, I'm moving my decimal 1, 2, 3 times to the right. So 1, 2, 3 times to the right, which means I have to add in 2 placeholders. So 45,900 grams was the total weight of the candy store, or was the total weight of the candy the store ordered. A spoonful of ice cream contains 6/1000 of a milligram of iron. How much iron would you consume if you ate 10 to the second spoonfuls? So we have 6/1000 times, because that would be for one spoonful. We want to know what it would be for 10 to the second power, or 1,000, or I'm sorry, not 1,000, 100. Goodness gracious. So I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2 to the right. So we would consume 6/10 milligrams of iron. So Will's water bill this month was $24.97. Looking over the bill, it says he used exactly 10 to the fourth power gallons of water. How much would he use for only 1 gallon? So if he used 10 to the fourth power, we want to know how much would only 1 gallon cost, which means it's going to be a really small number. 10 to the fourth power is also the same as saying 10,000 gallons. And if we're dividing, that means I have to move my decimal 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, and then I have to put in 2 placeholders. So this here would represent 2,497, and then this would be, let's see, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, hundreds, thousands, millionths. And then lastly, so you had to determine either the product, or it should have also said, now that I'm reading this, quotient, because some of these we divided. So if we were dividing 6 and 8 hundredths divided by 10 to the second power, that means that I'm only moving my decimal 1, 2 places to the left. So my answer would be 0.608. For number 2, I am multiplying, and it is 10 to the third power. So this means I'm moving my decimal 1, 2, 3 to the right. So for 42 and 3/10. Lastly, on your quiz, it showed division. I'm not quite sure why I deleted it on here, but this is divided by 10 to the first power, which means that we are moving our decimal 1 to the left. So we would have 206 and 514 thousandths. So remember, with powers of 10, it's all about moving that decimal place to the left or to the right based on how many powers we have. So we'll continue to practice this week, but I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to look over how to get the correct answer for your quiz. If you have any questions, come and see me.